Good evening, everybody. We're live, and so there's a few participants that are not with us yet. I'm assuming they'll log on, and I will admit them as they do, but it is 7 o'clock. So I am going to call the meeting of the Village of Romeo Board of Trustees for December 21st to order. Before we begin, I'd like to note that Clerk Trapp is out on medical leave, so she is not here this evening. We've asked Lisa Hall if she would be available to take the minutes in Catherine's absence. I will need council approval to do that. So I'm going to make a motion that we allow Lisa Hall to take our minutes for tonight's meeting. Do I have support?
Support.
Okay. I'm sorry, who was that?
Support, Parker.
Okay, support by Parker. I'm going to do a roll call, please. So Malzahn's a yes. Parker?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Edwards is absent. Fowler? Zach, you're muted.
There we go. Yes.
Yes, okay. Poznanski?
Poznanski, yes.
Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to ask everybody to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can you please do a roll call for me, Lisa?
Yes. Mr. Bartholomew?
Here.
Mr. Edwards is absent. Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart? Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Present.
Ms. Poznanski?
Here.
Ms. Malzahn?
Here.
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you very much. All right. We have the approval of the minutes. In your packet, you have meeting minutes from November 16th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Poznanski will approve the minutes as written.
Okay, motion by Poznanski. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Bartholomew. Any discussion? All right, Lisa, you have to do a roll call since we're online.
Yes. Ms. Poznanski?
Yes.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
I'll abstain.
You're going to abstain, did you say, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Malzahn?
Yes,
Okay. Motion carries.
thank you. In your packet, you have the regular vendor bills and the check register report. The vendor bills this month total $50,678.26. The check register, $203,205.95. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Poznanski make a motion to pay the bills
Okay.
in the amount of $50,678.26. And then the $203,205.95.
We have a motion by Poznanski. We have support by Hart. Any discussion?
I do have a question, Poznanski.
Yes.
I'm noticing that there's not any bills for the Record newspaper. Are we publishing our minutes somewhere?
I believe they're going in the Macomb Daily, but Catherine would be the one to answer that question. So,
Okay. Because I know that the council made a motion a few years ago to have our minutes be published in the Record. So I would like our minutes to be published in the Record. I know that sometimes there's time constraints on different ordinances, but we had agreed to do business with the Record, and I would like us to continue to do that.
we will look into that for sure.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the bills? Further discussion? All right. Lisa, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Hart,
Hart, yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Bartholomew. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Melzan.
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Thank you. We have at this time the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented then?
Hey, Christine,
Yes, Zach?
can I make a suggestion here? I know we haven't gotten to the public forum yet, but I would like to add one. Well, we can do it when we get there. Yes.
Poznanski would like a request. I would
And
like to talk about, just discuss the sidewalk committee. I don't know if we want to put that under committee section, but just discussion, please.
I haven't updated my president's report. So if you want to have further discussion, I would probably suggest that we put it under unfinished business if you're looking for something other than just a status update.
Okay, then B, under unfinished business.
So that would be A, under unfinished business.
Oh,
Sidewalk.
sorry, A is none, so that's A.
That's
Thank you.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
Anything, any other discussion?
Yeah, on number 8, public forum, agenda items only. I'd like to put up for a discussion to remove the agenda items only on public forum and return to an open forum.
That is number 13 as well. Zach, there are 2 line items for public forum, if you'll noted. So 8, we do it above new business or old business so that the public will have an opportunity to speak about anything on the agenda. And
But
then
as far-
the public comments on 13 would be an open forum like you suggest.
Correct, but your public forum on 13 lets them voice their opinions with no return comments, as you so well have put it. But the public forum, the way it used to be on number 8, was that the residents could come in and ask a question of the council with a return, as long as it's not on the agenda, because throughout the 30 days before our next meeting, things come up and people want to ask questions. And so to just have it as agenda items only, you're not hearing from those residents.
Well, then I would suggest that we discuss this in January when we go over our rules and procedures. And we typically would address that, how we want the agenda to flow for the next 12 months. So let's consider that in January when we discuss those. Anything else for the agenda? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of A for sidewalk under unfinished business?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with the addition of sidewalks under unfinished finished business.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart. We have support? Support. Support by Bartholomew. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Melzan.
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Okay, we have no special presentations this evening. I do have one letter of, correspondence. I have one letter of correspondence I wanted to read. I received it the other day. I have not spoken to DTE, but I'll read this. It's up on the screen for anybody who wants to see it as a recap of the letter that they sent to me. Trees are beautiful and a vital part of Michigan's landscape. They are also the leading cause of power outages and can pose a serious public safety hazard if they grow too near or into the power lines. That's why our tree experts will be visiting the village of Romeo and the surrounding area soon to trim and, if necessary, remove trees growing too close to the power lines. Our tree trimming program allows industry standards and uses trimming methods that promote healthy trees and safe, reliable power. All work will be completed by tree professionals who have been trained on safe, proper, and environmentally responsible work practices. Get a full view of DTE's tree trimming program at www.dteenergy.com/tree care. We are committed to working with you throughout the process and will be here to address any concerns you might have before tree work begins. Here is what you can expect in the upcoming weeks. You may see DTE representatives in your yard or neighborhood inspecting the power lines and trees to determine where trimming is needed. Representatives will be wearing highly visible vests and carrying DTE ID badges. If tree work is needed on your property, the representative will knock on your door. If you are not home, we will leave a tree work scheduled door card. If you have questions about the work intended for your property, please call the number on the door card. You will have the opportunity to speak to a representative before the tree work begins. If a tree poses a serious hazard to power lines, or if trimming will put the tree's health at risk, we may need to remove it. In this case, representatives will leave behind additional information and make considerable attempts to work directly with the property owner before removing any trees. We appreciate your support as we work to provide you with safe, reliable, and affordable energy. Questions? If you have any tree trimming question or comments, please call 1-800-477-4747 to speak with a DTE representative. And they also included a little map, which I'll put up on the screen right now. The green area that you see within the blue box is the area that they anticipate their scope of work to be in. So it would be obviously south of Gate Street, primarily in the Amanda Moore quadrant, crossing over St. Clair in the Lions Field quadrant. Doesn't look like there'll be anything over on the Tilson Street quadrant, and just minimal efforts on the very north end of town as we cross over to Main Street. So if anybody has any questions of that, it looks like they'll be in their area. I would anticipate the beginning of January. So again, you can reach out to DTE 800-477-4747. Okay. At this time, we have a public forum. Let me go back 2 slides on agenda items only. Is there anybody attending this Zoom meeting that wanted to offer a comment regarding any of the agenda items? If so, you can please use the raise your hand button, or you can dial my office phone, 586-752-3565. I am at extension 3. All right. I do not see anybody in the chat. I do not see anybody with their hand raised. So at this time, if my phone does ring because somebody's trying to dial in, we can always pop back and allow them an ample opportunity. But I'm just going to assume that there is none. Under unfinished business, I'm sorry, I skipped way ahead. Let's go back to our officer reports. Okay, the president's report for December 2020. I wanted to welcome Justin Parker as he officially attends his first board meeting. Sorry, it cannot be in person, but hopefully we'll be back to in-person meetings soon. So welcome, Justin. Jeff Rapp and his crew will not be doing any additional sidewalk repair work this year. They experienced some COVID exposures and were unable to get to some of the homes on Bailey, Dickinson, and Mussey Street. So those will be first on the list when weather permits next spring. We appreciate the patience of the homeowners that I know are just as eager as we are to make our sidewalks safe again. I attended several meetings with the leadership in Washington Township, outgoing Supervisor O'Leary and the new Supervisor Sam Praviti, as well as the planning group that represents Great Lakes Water Authority in regards to their 96-inch main water repair. That project is still in the designing planning phase, but they are keeping all affected municipalities in the loop and are addressing concerns from those of us that will be affected. This project is expected to begin construction in late 2022. It primarily will have the shut-off main that is located at Dickinson and Dorsey will be shut off. That main services our industrial park. So those users are really the ones that could possibly be affected. We've gone through several phases of testing, and they do not anticipate at this point with their calculations that there would be any loss of water pressure. So they're still working on some projections, but throughout the meetings, Washington Township has asked Romeo and Bruce Township to form a collaborative effort in which we request that Great Lakes Water Authority allow a new interconnect to be installed. I believe we're anticipating asking it to be located near Tim Hortons. I have suggested that it be located a little bit further south of town, behind Wellbridge, but so we're not sure of the location yet. But the connection would allow for mutual aid in case a water system failure in any of the three communities happened, so that we could turn that access on and have a different point of service flowing from Great Lakes Water. So we're going to continue those efforts. The MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, hosted its last 2020 Macomb Partners meeting via Zoom, which I attended. Vicki Rowinski and her department announced a new online GIS tool called Parcel Explorer, which should allow for easier access to individual properties they're assessing data. The village offices receive many phone calls and questions from realtors and homeowners needing information, but because we do not provide our own assessing services, we usually have to refer them to the townships to get their questions answered. Hopefully, this new Parcel Explorer will fill in the gap. It looks like it may require a BSNA module, so I will report back, of course, if we have to purchase anything. But hopefully we'll be able to take some of that responsibility on and not have to send our inquiries off to another municipality. Catherine and I both attended a meeting with Supervisor Mike Philbrook and Clerk Kraft from Bruce Township to discuss previous projects and give status updates to each other. Bruce Township and Romeo continue to have a mutually beneficial working relationship that supports both communities. Supervisor Philbrook has been working with the Parks and Rec Board members to address the old bylaws and get new ones approved so that Romeo will be allowed to have a representative on that commission. Those talks have sort of stalled out, but hopefully with Supervisor Philbrook's intervention, they're going to pick that torch back up and get something before both township boards soon. AT&T has begun some preliminary work on the water tower antenna project. Although we have not yet received the first payment, the process has begun, the permits have been issued, and the first payment was slated to be drafted on December 1st. So that should be incoming. I'd like to thank Clara and her staff at the Parks and Rec for organizing such a wonderful COVID-safe Christmas celebration. They did an outstanding job. I think we set a record for traffic backups of the cars waiting in queue to drive by the village park and participate in the event. Catherine and I were able to hand out the LED lit Christmas tree wands, which were provided by the Parks and Rec to all the children. It was so nice to see their excitement. The event was scheduled from 7 to 8:30, but the line of cars did not end until nearly 10 p.m. I can't thank Ruth Heidebreck and Rick Tamalia for lighting the tree this year. It's beautiful. They did a great job. Rick and his crew, from atop a very tall ladder, discovered the old star that used to sit proudly atop that tree and had since disappeared into the evergreen as it grew. Rick was able to cut it out, have it restored, and with the aid of our Bruce Township Fire Department using their ladder truck, have it reinstalled so that it majestically shines once again over our village park. Thank you to the Romeo Lions for providing the yummy cookies that were passed out to the cars as they drove by. And a big thank you to everybody else who volunteered to help out that evening, including Trustee Posnanski. All right, that completes the President's report. As I mentioned, Clerk Trapp is out, so she has no report to offer. She will offer another report next month. Treasurer Maddox is on the meeting. Sherry, do you have a report to give?
Yes. We have one outstanding IFT. I've been in contact with the owner of the business, and we should expect payment sometime in January, and that is due to the delay with COVID and them being a third-party supplier. So I'm still seeking those funds out. been in process working with our bank and accountant and accounts payable to get our fraud detection set up, which is the positive pay. That was one issue that our auditors really felt that we really needed to move forward. So we've implemented that and should be ready to get that system up and running. And then the third thing I just want to mention is that all the financials to complete our annual statement for our bond issue through Bedzinski and Company has been uploaded as well, and all the required documents have been sent as requested. That completes my report, and I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Sherry. Trustee reports. We can go, let's see, in order that I see. Trustee Hart, anything to report at this time?
No trustee report, but I would say to everybody, if this is my opportunity to say, we have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Trustee Parker, your first trustee report.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd just like to thank the residents for the trust in me with this position. I'm very honored with that. Some other things that I guess I've ran into coming in. Recently, I've been trying to get some information from our clerk and president regarding like a welcoming pack or policies, procedures for newly elected officials. Been having a little trouble. I've got some of it, and today I actually picked up a code of ordinance book, which I found out is outdated. So I'm kind of concerned how we're all operating without having up-to-date information to work from.
Okay. Just to let you know, Justin, as I mentioned in that email, those ordinance books and the Muni Code ordinance approval happened several months ago. There was an expenditure of, I believe, about $3,600 or $3,800 for all the ordinance updates that have never been codified and uploaded to our Muni Code online. Yeah. So that process, that work is in process. And so we anticipate having the updated, most recent version available online. The books, as you see, have different sets of updates, and that they may or may not be in order. And I told you that we would be addressing those again in January. I asked Clerk Trapp to get me a price on reprinting all of those hardbound books with the most current ordinances once they are up and ready. So.
Okay, so that's something we do have in the works then to get done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And that we didn't have any sort of established protocol for a welcome packet for the newly elected official. So I think she provided you in your packet copies of a lot of our policies, the sexual harassment, the email policy. I forget the other ones that you had asked for, but you should have had those in your packet. Hopefully you found those.
Yeah, I got most of them. Yep. I just think maybe we should have something official in place moving forward for anyone coming in, you know, to a new position or wherever that might be. I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I certainly understand that. 2 years ago, when I took my position, Catherine and I weren't received on the benefit of any of those documents. In fact, I was just pretty much handed a set of keys that didn't open anything. So I can understand and appreciate how awkward it is to sort of come in and sort of pick up the pieces. But hopefully you feel like we're, addressing your concerns. And if you have anything else that I can get to you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to accommodate that.
Yeah, I can respect that. I know when you came in a couple of years ago, you also talked about the lack of the job descriptions and stuff like that for everybody. And I was hoping maybe that was something we could get addressed in this next coming months. Maybe get job descriptions for everybody so we know who to go to and who handles what would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Certainly something that we can look at. Probably a good topic for our goals and objective workshop.
Beautiful.
We can take on that project. Trustee Fowler, any reports to offer this time?
For the trustee or the ex-official, which one?
Let's do trustee since that's the topic that we're on right now.
No reports at this current time. Merry Christmas, everybody. Just like Bob. You too, Bob. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Trustee Bartholomew.
Nothing to report at this time, but I'd also like to wish everyone
Could you unmute yourself, Nathan? We can't hear you.
Do you have it unmuted?
I believe so.
There you go.
Yep, sorry about that. But yeah, just want to wish everyone a happy Merry Christmas and welcome Justin to the trustees.
Perfect. Last but certainly not least, Trustee Poznanski.
Yes, thank you. I also would like to thank the people of Romeo for giving me another 4 years here. I hope to continue to earn your support and doing the job of being the people's trustee. For this month, I had attended another workshop on municipal budgeting. A lot of repeat stuff, but still it's a good refresher to be aware of. And I wanted to say also that Parks and Rec put on a wonderful Santa drive-through. I was the unofficial photographer, so sorry if that didn't turn out so well. That's really not my strong suit. But the kids loved it, to see them talk to Santa, the gleam in their eyes. They were really excited. And I talked to people afterwards that said it was done very well. The wait was definitely worth it. And they even sent friends to the Washington one the next day because they thought it was so well. So thank you also to the Parks and Rec for that.
All right, I think that was all of the trustees. So let's skip back then to the Planning Commission. Zach, did you have any updates on the Planning Commission?
Currently, there is no updates, but I was talking to Chairman Jim, a couple other board members, and we would like to recommend for the reinstatement of Bill Grandstaff as a co-planning commission chair. Notice that he wasn't on your list for a reinstatement, so we'd like to recommend that he be reinstated or to go through the interview process, one of the two.
Yes, his term doesn't actually expire until April. So we certainly have some time to address that, but thank you for that recommendation. All right, let's move on. I have no committee reports at this time, so we'll move into the unfinished business. We did add agenda item A for sidewalk. Was there something specific other than what I provided in my president's report that you wanted to speak about, Trustee Poznanski?
Well, yes, it was kind of a continuation, a bounce off of that. I talked to a few residents that have heard the report and even gone through the program. So some of the people suggested that we could use this time right now to send out a mailer to the people that have been part of the program and get their response of what the good, the bad, the ugly, and what could we do better going forward, to use that as we continue this program, to put together some sort of guidelines so that the people can understand. I think we could mitigate a lot of the questions, people, oh, my sidewalk, why does mine need to get done? Why is this square but not that square? Why is my neighbor's not mine? Sort of thing. That if we had guidelines and parameters to what would constitute a square that needed to be redone, that might help us a little bit and help the people understand, so that we could put together a description of what this program is, put it out there online, maybe as we make the plan to what quadrant goes next or what streets come next in the spring. We could be sending out mailers ahead of time to say, hey, heads up, here's the program. Maybe some people might need to plan ahead. I know it's a phenomenal deal that we get with the company, but some people might need to plan ahead. And then when they see the X's or whatever on their sidewalk, it won't be such a shock to them. What else? And then there was one thing I had heard, and sadly it was from more than one resident, that they weren't even asked or given approval of fixing their sidewalk until after it happened. They came home from work and someone was standing at their door asking them to sign and approve and the work was already done and they didn't even know that anything was being done. So I know that you talked about we might need to spend more time on this, work on this a little bit more, that it is an intense program. I would like to offer my help if there needs to be help and assistance in this area. Because some of these things need to get done for our residents as we go forward. I know as things begin, there's always hiccups. I'm not blaming anybody. There's always going to be something, but if we can improve upon where we've been, a lot of the sidewalks have footprints in them. So let's figure out a way to make sure that the next residents that get done don't have so many footprints in their sidewalks. So that was just some of the things that I'd heard from the people in their ideas.
Okay. Well, maybe at the beginning of the year, we can gather the sidewalk subcommittee and you guys can make a plan or a recommendation to move that forward. Any other discussion regarding the sidewalk? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to just add to that. I didn't know there were a lot of sidewalks with footprints. I think I've seen maybe one, two. And as people have questions, they do call in. And Christine has always been able to reach me, and I'm oftentimes able to get over to the same evening to address their concerns and that. So that's actually something that's been going on that maybe you weren't aware of, Ms. Poznansky. But we certainly were open to ideas of like the maybe a letter of form to let them know what they thought of it. And that would certainly help us to maybe improve on this as we go, because it's going to be a while until all these sidewalks are finished, of course. And but let me say this, having talked to each one of these people, I would say 90 to 95% of them are quite pleased and happy with it. And yeah, we had a few issues, a few problems, and we've never really tackled this before. And can you still hear me? Yeah. Oh, okay. So anyways, but I do agree with some of what you're saying. And I think we can move forward with this and continue to get better as we go. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Bartholomew. Can I? There's a sidewalk on Mussey Street on the west side. Goes right around a tree root. Is that on your to-do list too? Just before, I say about 200 feet in from East St. Clair Street.
And what street?
Mussey.
Yes. The contractor is pretty good about going around trees. They've actually done that. We like jotted around them. So whatever needs to be done, he's able to do. Yeah, the trees can be tricky, but he does a really good job.
Well, it's an old dead tree stump there. So will that root come out and the sidewalk continue straight? Right now it's like lifted up. One of the residents pointed it out to me. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
Okay. I'm certainly going to go over and take a look at that. And then, when we start back up, I can address it with the contractor, find out what he plans to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to add, because I had worked on that, and then this last fall, Nathan kind of took over. It is a very time intensive and a lot of moving parts in doing that. So, I'd be happy to help and to have Megan do that with more people involved in the program. Because it's almost like if we didn't do it, and there's enough of us to do it that have the time to do it, you'd almost have to have somebody that you'd pay to do that. So I think, the committee, we should readdress who's in the committee, and, if we can get several of us to work with it, it'd be great.
Absolutely. And going forward, I wouldn't want to have to pay anybody if we didn't need to. It already is running over budget. So if we already can't stay within the budget, then that would concern me going forward, that it would have to go higher. So I'm more than happy to help. Absolutely.
Has it been over budget? I wasn't aware of that.
Well,
would you like me to read it to you?
Yes, please.
It's in our budget to actual.
the budget is high right now, but we're still anticipating the invoice money coming back. We have not been reimbursed for the
Okay.
homeowner's portion. So there's revenue that hasn't been received yet, even though we've paid out the invoice to the contractor.
Good, because we're at, we budgeted just over $50,000 and we're at almost 65 for the project, which leaves us just about 14,000 over, so.
But we
That
had
would be
carryover from the year before, correct? We
I
did
don't recall.
50 the first year.
Right. We anticipated about 50,000 for this year. That's what we've been monitoring. And hopefully all of the homeowners that have been invoiced for the work that's been completed will make that flush once we get to the end of the fiscal year.
Now, what happens if they don't? What is our plan?
Yes.
I believe it gets put on their taxes.
Okay,
I just want to add that as the treasurer to collect, it's important that we set the parameters up front. So if the homeowner or business owner does not pay, that they are made aware that it will be going on their taxes. And then if we put out net 30 or net 60 or how many ever days that we're going to allow these residents to pay, we need to, in my opinion, is add a late fee, whatever days as any other payment is not received on time.
As of right now, we did not institute a late fee. I did speak with quite a few residents and offer them some payment terms. I reassured everybody that, we wanted to work with them within their budget because some of them did not anticipate, that amount of sidewalks, especially some homes that have, 20 or 30 slabs. So it can be quite costly. So I just offered, let's just put it in writing, what works for you, and then we would accommodate that. So that's our goal.
do we need to be adjusting our ordinance at all?
Not that I'm aware of at this time. We have this program in place, but we do still offer the 50% concrete reimbursement for anybody else in accordance with the ordinance that has done that. So for instance, Andy Harlow, who's been building all those beautiful houses and has replaced all of the sidewalk with each one that he has renovated or rebuilt. So we are issuing him that calculation for 50% of the cost of the concrete. So Tim Metz went out and measured that, did the
Maybe you can
calculation.
mute yourself. We're getting a lot of feedback. I apologize to interrupt you.
That's okay. Okay, so
Sorry.
I'm gonna mute Nathan. Okay. Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, it was
We're
just a lot of
we're still,
feedback.
yeah, we still have the ordinance in place. So if there's anybody who, wanted to fix their sidewalk and we don't have the contractor who is really going to be in their area, then they can certainly go ahead and do that and still take advantage of the replacement that's there. So,
Okay.
all right. Does that conclude the sidewalk?
That was everything I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move on then to new business. So the first item up was our 2021 holiday schedule. You see that in your packet, the dates that are in our non-union office staff, as well as most of these are similar to what is in our union contracts, but there is slight variations, just so that you're aware of that. The unions, we're hoping that when we renegotiate their contracts that we can make it, across the board. But right now they have certain days like the union picnic day, they get that day off paid. So since we don't have a picnic here in the office, we didn't take that day off. So there's some birthdays. I think the unions get a birthday off, and we chose to just take one of the more traditional bank holidays. So you see the list in front of you. Can I get a motion to approve the holiday calendar dates as submitted? Everybody's muted, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the holiday list, recognized holidays as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion by Hart. Do we have support?
Posnanski support. Now,
Any further discussion? Oh, sorry, Megan.
sorry, Posnanski question.
Yes.
It does concern me, though, that it seems that that last week of December will all be taken off. don't know that we've ever done that before. And that does concern me.
Well, right now you should note that both Bruce Township and Washington Township are closed starting tomorrow through January, I believe, is it the 4th or is it the 6th? It is after the holidays. And so they're totally closed. There was some discussion of that, of anybody wanting to take vacation days between the holidays. And we recognized that it was more important to have somebody here to make sure that everything was, running smoothly, especially with trash pickup. So for this year, and again, even though I am most Fridays when technically the office isn't open, we still have staff coming in to monitor the phones and just making sure that everything that could possibly have gone with the problem is taken care of in a timely manner. So I don't anticipate that to be a problem, Megan. We'll make sure that there's somebody who's still checking in, even if the office is closed.
And I'll just want to add in that regards as well, is that I know Cindy comes in every Friday and checks on the mail and messages and such. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that we as elected officials would do that as well. And so even though we may technically have the day off, we're still checking in the office per se and answering up phone calls and emails and such.
Well, and just to clarify, because I've had a resident ask me a couple times, is the office just closed on Friday and everyone's working from home, or is everybody off on Friday?
Technically, the office is closed, but as I just stated, people check in. Whether I have paperwork to do, I may be here, so my light may be on. Cindy checks in a couple of times a day, especially since it's the day after trash, I believe in the morning and in the afternoon, so she's here. There's been a few times when a resident needed to make an appointment or had a final meter read, and we always accommodate that. So we'll take those appointments when necessary. But if there is nothing pressing, then you're correct. The office is closed and no one would be here.
So are you guys getting paid for that Friday?
Well, the elected officials are all salary, so it doesn't adjust that. I believe that Cindy would count that as more than her 32 hours. She gets paid like the office staff, the 32 hours. So if she had to come in for 2 more, yes, she probably does get paid. She is hourly.
Okay, thank you.
When a holidays fall on a Friday, Saturday like this, have we traditionally pushed that to the following week? Or if it's on a Friday, Christmas Eve, wouldn't that just be the holiday recognized on that day because it's a weekday?
Well, if we did that, then that would require an additional 8-hour pay. So that's why we push it back and give the day off versus the additional 8 hours in the time frame, because they would technically be working their 32. They're entitled to
8 holiday.
Right, because they're entitled per the contracts for those paid holidays. All right, Lisa, can you take a roll call on the motion by Hart, support by Poznanski?
Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Poznanski, no.
okay. Mr. Parker,
Parker's a no.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Fowler,
Fowler's a no.
Malzahn,
Yes.
your motion fails.
No motion. Edwards is absent.
Mm-hmm.
So again, per the contract, everybody is entitled to the paid holidays. So
And we give the same, what the union gets, we afford that to our employees.
yes. So that would be for Cindy, Rebecca in HR. I guess it would be those 2 employees.
Could we split it up so that it was 2 of the days are before, so that's not the whole week in a row?
I
Would be a suggestion.
At least somebody to man the office.
Well, again, there is somebody in the office, Zach.
Yeah, but so if there's someone in the office documenting hours and getting paid, and then are they getting holiday pay then on top of that if that's one of the scheduled holidays?
I would
That
think
falls
that,
right back into the 8 hours in the week before that you talked about them going over if we recognized Christmas Eve on Christmas Eve. It'd be the same thing, right?
if I'm not sure I follow. I'm sorry. I was trying to look at the calendar so that I had that in front of me.
Zach had stated that
Right.
no one would be in the office. You said there would be someone in the office. So
Well,
even
that-
though
that's
they're on a
actually
holiday,
Right.
they're on a holiday pay, then they're still in the office working. So then are they getting paid for being there and the holiday pay? And then what would be the difference then in that scenario if they were paid for Christmas Eve off as on Friday? Because you just said it would be an extra 8 hours from the week before.
I think it was stated that people are coming in for an hour or two to check on things and to make appointments. They aren't there for the full office hours working.
Right. That is correct. Mhm. So you can push the 24th, which is still a paid holiday. You can give them an additional 8-hour pay if that's what you want to do for the 24th. The 25th would technically be, since it's a Saturday, usually pushed to the Monday, which would be the 27th. You have the same thing with the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which would be the Thursday, would be the Friday and the Saturday. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to skip ahead to that. All right, so I'll revise this since the motion failed, and we'll bring it back to January. And we'll have to vote on it again because it needs to be approved. But we can move on to that. I'll let Cindy and Rebecca know your concerns. Again, I don't think we have any noted concerns from any resident who has not been able to be taking care of whatever their issue is, whether it's on a Friday, Saturdays, or well, I don't think Sundays, but yeah. All right, let's move on to the annual appointments, which is item B. You have the 2021 list of annual appointments, which I am nominating Tim Metz, Supervisor of Public Works, Wastewater Program Manager, Al Lapierre, Wastewater Program Manager, Al Lapierre. Wait, that's a duplicate. Excuse me, I must have retyped something funny.
If I could interrupt you real quick, Christine, I'm sorry to go back to the holidays. If this is going to wait till next month, do we have to do something to approve January 1 because we won't be here before?
We've already approved this calendar year. This was for next calendar year, Justin.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm looking at. It says January 1st, which would be
2022, technically.
This is
so it
2021.
should, yeah, because it's at the top of the
2021.
list.
Yeah, 2021 holidays, but it would be the tail end. Yep. Because if you look at the list from
Because there's two New Year's days on there. That's why I asked. There's one at the very top that says January 1st recognized, and at the bottom it says December 30th. So we're trying to recognize December 30th for 2022's, which shouldn't even be on this then, correct? Because we're approving 2021.
Yes.
So that December 30th should be scratched completely then, because that would fall into the next year's approval.
That was my understanding. Yes.
Okay, so then we haven't approved New Year's Day 2021.
I believe that was approved in January of this year.
Okay, so then that shouldn't be on this list then.
When we approved the holiday dates for the calendar year of 2020, New Year's Day, I believe was on that.
Okay, so that we're going to recognize on the Friday then, where you said that would be an issue with the 8 hours if that was already approved before.
I don't know how that was approved because I do not have that list in front of me.
Okay.
If that was pushed forward or back.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if we need to approve New Year's Day 2021, we should probably do that one before we wait till the next meeting, because then technically it wouldn't be recognized, correct?
Mark, I'm sorry. Mark, do you have some thoughts on that? Because I don't know.
We would have, I don't have the paper in front of me, but we would have approved New Year's along with Christmas. We wouldn't have gone through to one without the other.
Right.
But I don't have anything in front of me, but.
Nor do I.
Okay, so then that creates the issue that you were trying to prevent with Christmas Eve next year, because we're recognizing on that Friday. So that fell into that same issue.
I would think it's the same way in the end of this, where it says December 30th and then says New Year's Day observed. That's how it would have. So if this didn't have the January 1 on the top, that's what's confusing it.
The January 1 at the top makes me believe that it's for 2021, and it even says as the heading.
Yeah,
but if you look at the bottom of the list, it's putting New Year's Day observed, which is talking about the following 2020.
For 2022.
Exactly. So
so the one at the top of the list, then we should have addressed there last time, because that created an issue with falling on a Friday and getting that 8 extra hours of pay. That was an issue why we're trying to break it up for 2021 for Christmas Eve.
But the way it's stated on the bottom of the page is most likely how it would have been done. Because we would have been doing New Year's and Christmas at the same time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't see, Mark, are you online still? I don't see your name in the participant list, Mr. Clark. Oh, okay. I think he just is logging back in. He must have got kicked out. So let's just give him a second. I'll just confer with him just for a moment.
Gotcha.
Mark, are you back online with us?
I just looked up the minutes really quick, and we didn't state it in the minutes. We just said as presented. So.
Mark, are you back with us?
I am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So I don't know if you heard part of that discussion. The motion to approve the holiday days failed 3-3. Trustee Edwards is not present tonight. And so there is some question whether or not we would have approved in January of 2020 New Year's Day, which was technically 2021. It is included on this list that was submitted in the council packets, but I do not have the last submission, last year's dates in front of me handy. So I'm just looking for your recommendation for New Year's Day. I know that it is one of the dates that is in the union contracts. It is certainly a date that is in the non-union employee contract listed as a paid day off. So I'm wondering what your thoughts were for New Year's Day of 2021. Do we need to have a separate motion and then revisit the rest of the holiday dates because that motion failed? Or do you think that we're covered because it's written in the contracts?
I did listen to I did hear the tail end of that and Mr. Parker's question and your response. Based on the dates, I would say the January 1st date, as mentioned, probably, but I have to hesitate, but I may be able to solve the mystery. You can excuse me a minute. I keep copies of the agendas and minutes and things going back a number of years. They're in a filing cabinet, which is not too far away and not too hard for me to get to. And I can go and look and see what you may have done last year if you want me to do that. Typically, the January 1st day would be for, in this example, would be for 2022, with the December 30th, December 29 being for of 2021, if that answers your question.
That means that New Year's Day is recognized twice on this.
No, New Year's Day for 2021, the one that's coming up in about 10 days or so, would have been addressed at last year's meeting.
So then it shouldn't be on the top of this list.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it shouldn't, if you're applying it to 2021, no, it should not. But if, as I believe that's for January 1, 2022, it can be on your list. You just have to identify for what year it is.
Yeah.
I did find, I had my husband really nicely, asked him pleasantly to go grab my packet from 2019. So we do have January 1st, New Year's Day on here. And then at the bottom, it does say January 1st, 2021 New Year's Day at the bottom. So it is covered on last year's, it seems.
Which makes sense. And then your January 1st on the current schedule you have before you would be for 2022 if you follow that same that same schematic, if you will.
So we just need to kind of put the year or the date on these so we know moving forward. It's 2021, 20.
Yeah, clarity is always helpful.
Respect that.
So we'll revise that listing and then we'll resubmit it and add it to next month's meeting agenda. And we'll clarify which New Year's Day we're talking about. But pretty confident that New Year's Day of 2022, like Mr. Clark said, in 10 days, was covered last January.
2021.
2021. Did I just misspeak? I'm sorry. Making it more confusing. Okay. Let's move back to the annual appointments then. As I started to read off, the supervisor of public works would be Tim Metz. Al Lapierre holds two appointments, supervisor of the wastewater treatment plant and the wastewater program manager. I apologize, my slide reads incorrect that you see on your screen, but those were the two positions that Al Lapierre holds. Dan Sokolnicki as the chief of police. Ken Borsney as our plumbing and heating inspector, Tim Dillon as our electrical inspector, Michael Bomarito as our building inspector, Dan Sokolnicki as our noxious weed inspector, and the street administrator is President Malzahn. So typically, I would look for a motion to approve these 2021 annual appointments. Nathan, you're still muted. Yes, you are.
It shows that I'm unmuted, so I don't know what the rules here.
Okay. All right.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to reapprove these appointments for 2021.
We have a motion by Bartholomew. Do we have support?
Hart, support.
Support by Hart. Roll call, please.
Quickly, we're approving just the top ones that you read from the
Yes.
street administrator up right now?
Yes, in this motion, yes.
Thank you.
Was there any other discussion on that?
Were there any changes from last year to any of these?
The only change was that village attorney and village prosecutor were historically on the annual list of appointments. I had a conversation with Mr. Clark and explained that I didn't want to create a sticky situation by appointing him since we haven't addressed the RFP yet. And so I'm going to put both of those on our agenda for January. I didn't want there to be some sort of problem if he was appointed at this month's meeting, although I anticipate certainly retaining his services for the next couple of years under a revised contract. I didn't want to make that judgment until the village council actually had the option to vote on that. So that's the only change, that there's not those two positions being nominated at this time.
Okay.
Okay. Lisa, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Art, yes.
Ms. Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Parker, Mr. Parker,
Sorry, yes.
okay. Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion
All right.
carries.
And in your packet, you have appointments for the Planning Commission. I'd like to strike off Elizabeth Kellogg's name. Had a subsequent follow-up meeting with her, and her passion really, I believe, lies in the downtown development area with business retention and business recruitment. So she's sort of asked to serve in other areas versus being on the Planning Commission and then resigning that commission if a position should open up on the DDA. So as of right now, I'm just going to recommend that we appoint Nolan Carr with the term ending 2023 and reappoint Carl Webb with a term ending of December 2023. So just those two names at this time. So can I get a motion to approve the Planning Commission appointments?
Hart, make a motion to approve those two, Nolan Kerr and Carl Webb for the commission.
Okay, we have a motion by Hart. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Bartholomew. Any further discussion?
Yes. Can we add Bill Grandstaff to that, since your Elizabeth Kellogg is not seeking an appointment?
At this time, Zach, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to Bill. I have some concerns that I expressed to him last year over his health. And so I will certainly follow up with him. And we can certainly make that appointment. Again, his term isn't up until April. So he would certainly, if he's able to, continue to serve until that time that he was either reappointed for 4-year term or 3-year term, or a replacement was found. So at this time, I'm going to stick with the original two.
Okay. Well, I know that Mr. Grandstaff tried to give you a call. And, he has had an operation working on his disability. So he's moving around.
Poznanski, question.
Yes.
Has Mr. Grandstaff been missing meetings?
They haven't had 2 meetings, so I don't believe he has missed. He's been on the Zoom meetings pretty consistently, yes.
Okay, and he did take the citizen planner course. I took it along with him. So he is educated. He went and spent the time to get educated in that area. And I would think it would, I'm trying to think of the right word, to remove someone from a board because of their health or disability would not be the right thing to do.
Well, I appreciate your input. I am in the mindset that I would like to fill that position with a female. I think having Lisa Hall, the only female commissioner on that board, doesn't give us a diverse of a board as possible. That's why I had conversations with Elizabeth. But like I said, she's interested in pursuing a different area. So I'll have to reevaluate my position.
Now, did you get a note of our letter of interest from Nolan?
I actually reached out to Nolan prior to and asked him if he was at all interested in filling Kim Davis's position because I had a vacancy. And so Nolan and I have met several times. He came in, he met with Mr. Casson and has also signed up for Citizen Planner, which begins in February if he's appointed tonight.
But he hasn't submitted a letter of interest.
He sent me yes, he did. Sent me a couple of statements of why he wanted to serve. So
Would there be a possibility to get a resume or that letter and do some type of interview before we appoint someone new to any of the boards?
no, because these are my appointments, as we've always sort of had some issues in the past. The positions are filled and nominated by the president. So I am very confident with Nolan's eagerness and what he would bring to the board, that he would be a great addition.
I would say that we vote on these two candidates individually, as
Well,
opposed
I
to
have a
together.
motion by Hart already on the floor and support by Bartholomew. So his motion was for both of those. So if there's no further discussion, I'd like you to take a roll call, Lisa.
Okay.
So this is for Nolan and this is for Carl. Just
Okay.
to be clear. Yes.
All right. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
No,
Mr. Parker,
No.
Ms. Poznanski,
Poznanski, no.
President Malzahn,
Yes.
you're at a 3-3, so motion does not carry.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve them individually, vote on them individually.
I second that.
Okay. Zach, did you want to clarify which name you wanted to vote on,
The two that you put out there.
right?
Since you
So
won't let me add Bill Grandstaff, and you're going to talk to him. You have Carl Webb and you have the Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
So first, we'd like to vote individually on each one.
Okay, so who do you want to vote on first?
Carl Webb.
Okay, so you're making a motion to reappoint Carl Webb with term ending December 2023.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Fowler. Do we have support?
I support that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Mr. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Ms. Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Ms. Malzahn,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay,
Mr. President, can I, for the second, Mr. Nolan, can I just say that if you are looking for a female, why don't you take this opportunity and look at these two positions that you're trying to fill and find a candidate?
because I believe that Nolan will be a fine addition to that board. So at this time, we have a vacancy. So I have selected Nolan to fill that vacancy.
But okay,
It does not, his appointment to this board does not remove Mr. Grandstaff at this time.
correct. I'm not saying it does, because I know he expires in April.
Mhm.
But, and at the end of April, somebody that's such a valid member of this community in all aspects.
And once I have a conversation with him, I may opt to reappoint him, but I have not had that conversation at this time. So I'm not willing to do that tonight. I'm willing to bring forth Mr. Webb and Mr. Carr
Okay,
at this time to fill the vacancy.
okay. A motion for Mr. Nolan. Are we on that one now?
If that's your motion.
Yes, since
Okay.
it's the second one of the two individual
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Fowler
to vote on Mr.
to
Nolan.
approve Mr. Carr's placement with a term ending December 23.
Hart, support. Hart,
Okay.
support.
Roll call, please.
And can we have a look, I'd like to make a comment. Again, it is the president's appointments. And I think with council's approval, and I would like to, if anybody has a reason that someone is not qualified or shouldn't serve for that, that would be maybe a call that the council would want to not approve somebody. But not because the council is worrying about what other positions or what other people they would want to have in there. I just make that comment.
I can respect that, Bob. Now you question if someone's qualified. How are we going to know without either seeing previous work on a board or having some type of resume or interview of that person? So how do we know they're qualified? Or how do we know what they're going to bring based just on a list, a name on a list? That would be my concern. Well, I know Nolan personally, but I don't know if everyone on the board does. So shouldn't we have some type of process in place where we can get to know this person or have a resume or some type of interview? Would make sense.
And I would think that we are tiptoeing into scary water when we base our decision off of health, disability, male or female.
Very much so.
Yes.
Nathan, go ahead.
Okay.
Unmute yourself, please.
Unmute.
Nathan, you're muted. Yep.
I unmute.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's showing I'm not muted, but then. Okay, we're gonna.
All right. Am I too loud?
Oh, go
Christine, if you.
Am I muted again?
No, I was just saying Christine should mute herself when you are speaking.
ahead. I did. Yes.
Okay. Everyone hear me? Okay. I had a chance to meet Nolan. I supported him. He obviously had an interest in politics because he did run. Getting back to what someone else said, as far as experience in that, I think for a young man who is as interested in this type of stuff as he is, I don't see any reason why we just want to not. I mean, this would be a great place for him to start, actually. You got to get started somewhere. And I just think he would be a fine person to sit on that planning commission. And I just think it's a shame that we're at this point right now where we're not going to give this young man a chance to do what he really wants to do. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Well, I see a Nolan on the chat. Is this Nolan Carr?
You asking me?
I'm asking in general if he's listening and that's him, could he speak?
Oh,
Nolan, if you wish to address the board at this time, you can certainly unmute yourself and I will grant you the floor.
Hello?
We can hear you, Nolan.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just was trying to figure out my microphone here. Yes, I am here. I've been listening.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you'd like me to comment on or say?
Well, the board is sort of questioning your qualifications. Mr. Parker would like you to perhaps make sure that everybody on the board understands your current, schooling and why you want to serve the board. And so if you would like to, fill in those gaps, that would be most welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for starters, just to get to know me, I'm 22 years old, a resident at 147 Tilson Street in the Village. I had previously run for office and a trustee for the Board of Trustees position in Washington Township. I am a current student through Macomb Community College, hopefully Wayne State, to pursue construction management engineering. And I just received my journeyman plumbing license last week, and hopefully I'll be joining the plumbing union soon. So I'm a good, dedicated person. I run a kind of a little small low-key food pantry and help out with Christmas gifts for local people in the village. And this is something I have passion about and I'm very interested in. And I hope that I can be appointed so I can enter this entry-level position and learn more about the processes that a board goes through and how they work about processes like this in the community.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nolan. I appreciate your time and joining us tonight. So we have a motion on the floor by Fowler. Did we have support for that motion for Nolan?
I had supported, Hart support.
Hart supported. Can you call the roll, please, Lisa?
Yes, Mr. Fowler? Mr.
No.
Fowler?
No.
Mr. Hart?
Hart, yes.
Mr. Parker?
No.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Ms. Poznanski?
Poznanski, no.
Ms. Malzahn?
Yes. Okay, so we still have a vacancy on that board. Thank you, Nolan. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Moving on in our agenda, we have back to the police vehicle lease proposal. I did just get I'm sorry.
Didn't we have a zoning board to do?
Oh, yes, you are correct. Yes, we have a vacancy created on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I am nominating Andrew Hale, term ending December 2023. Again, for anybody who's not familiar with that, Andrew is an assessor in a neighboring community. So he certainly understands the zoning laws.
Poznanski will make a motion to appoint Andrew Hale to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll
For the
support.
term ending 2023.
So that
Parker will
was,
support.
that was Poznanski and Parker. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Poznanski?
Poznanski, yes.
Parker?
I'm sorry, Megan, was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Parker?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Hart, yes.
Malzahn?
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay. Perfect. Now let's move on. Chief Dan had a situation that he had to leave the meeting and go take on that responsibility. So I'll do my best to cover that. He's presenting police vehicle lease proposals that you have in your packet. The cover letter basically just talks about the current vehicles of 2014. One has 146,000 miles on it. The other one has 115,000 miles on it. The worst of the two was just in a slight fender bender. It's going to require some work to get that fixed up, and he's suggesting that we replace both of those vehicles. We did budget for this in our motor pool for these two vehicles. He's gotten quotes, as you see in your packet. The one is a 2021 Dodge Durango at $32,163. There's some interior equipment that needs to be done for about $5,000. And then we have a 2021 Ford police utility vehicle, which is what we have right now, $32,195 that should not need any interior retrofitting. So does anybody have any questions? Retrofitting. So.
What was that?
Somebody's got the live stream on, so I'm going to ask you again to please mute yourself until it's time to speak, because it's just very difficult to hear.
I would like just to make a comment that it seems like a decent deal. I went back the minutes, and in 2017, when we bought our two vehicles, then we paid $72,753. So this seems to be even less. Just a comment.
The only question I had is, Parker, in there, it said with the, I believe with the Ford, it said the old equipment may swap into the new one. Is that something that we'll know? And if so, will that 5,000 then be needed for the new Ford vehicles also? And is that each, or is that total for both?
The 32,195 would be per vehicle. And no, the equipment that is currently in the Fords should retrofit back into the new vehicle. So there would not be the additional equipment needed.
Okay,
But there would be if you changed models and you went with the Durango.
Yeah.
And
in the proposal, it said it may, and you just said should. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
And if we needed to be prepared to spend another 5 or 10 on top of that for equipment.
As of right now, I'm under the impression that it should fit or may fit. So that there would be no additional amounts. But if that expenditure did come up, certainly it would come for you for approval. So.
And then at the end, it does say we'll have to include another 3,000 in adjustment for the next 2 payments after that. We'll have to up that 20 to 23.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Well, the adjustment would be, right. The first payment would be due upon delivery, which is estimated at 120 days. In the current budget, there's 20,000 allocated for the new vehicle. This would need to be adjusted by 3,000 to accommodate the first payment. So we'll have to adjust the budget, budget amendments,
Okay.
or see how the motor pool is actually, but yeah. We have one lump sum for motor pool, which this would fall under.
Okay.
Okay, Art, comment. I think if that equipment that gets done with the confiscation funds, I don't think that's part. This is a lease that we're approving now, as far as that. So, I think the way that, and the chief's not here, the way that he had put this through was just telling us that the leases were almost identical, but the difference would be that there would have to be that additional expenditure. It wasn't proposed that if we wanted the Dodge, that it could be 37,000. I think he put together a good comprehensive plan. My question was, he's recommending one of the vehicles going just regular service as a village vehicle. Would that be DPW, and that would be something that we would discuss later?
Well, right. We would either choose to auction them off like we did some of the old Crown Vics, which of course would come before board approval, or would become a village fleet vehicle that would be used for anybody who needed that vehicle. So it would still stay in our motor pool and on the insurance policy.
Posnanski question.
Yes.
Am I correct in assuming that so that our other lease is up?
Yes, I believe that we made the last payment. Yes.
Okay. That's what it would seem like, but I just wanted to make sure because it was 2017 when we made the motion
18, 19, 20.
for the last 2, and I just want to double check. Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease proposal for the Ford vehicle. Both
for 2
Ford vehicles, yes.
We include the amount in that proposal.
32,195 each over a 3-year lease. And I don't know if it was, I'm not seeing the screen, the 20, the annual cost.
Increase the annual allocation to 23,000.
Yes. Is it 23 even? Is that
23 or 22,948.91.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart. We have support.
Parker.
Support by Parker. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Could one of you please restate the last part of the motion regarding $22,000?
Should we do it together or separate? Does it matter?
The motion was to approve the two vehicle purchases,
Right.
the amount of $32,195 with the lease payment being adjusted to $25,948.91.
That's not correct.
Oh,
No, it'd be $22,948.91.
And 91 cents.
Because currently we have 20,000 allocated. He asked for 3,000 more. Leave, $51 in there.
Right. So Lisa, do you have that number?
All right. So let me read.
48.91 cents.
Okay, so can I read this motion back to you so I can make sure that it's correct?
yes.
Please.
All right, motion by Hart with support by Parker to approve lease proposal for two Ford's vehicles at $32,195 each, 3-year lease, 2021s. Lease payment adjusted to $22,948.91.
3 payments.
Each year. Yep.
1 each year.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Mr. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
No.
Ms. Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. The second request by the police department was for this LexiPool electronic policy manual. This will put their policies online. There'll be daily check-ins and updates available as policies, change and get updated. Originally, this was something that Dan and I talked about and he wasn't going to go through with. It was significantly more. And as he sort of held out, they sort of lowered the price. This is the bottom line price, a 1-year subscription, which would be $4,446. And he negotiated a 25% discount of $1,111.50. So the total subscription for the electronic policy manual would be $3,334.50.
Do we currently have our policies online, or is it
No, we do not.
written? So it's all written?
Yes. Yep. This way, the officers log in, and so there's an electronic record that they are aware of the policy. And so if there's any violations, then there's a clear, track record of who actually reviewed that information. So it does allow for some additional accountability, having it online, from my understanding.
And the
So-
chief is asking for this,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and it would come out of his budget.
Yes.
And they have it planned or a space to take it from the current budget.
I believe right now he's going to try and put it under education. He did talk about putting it with the forfeiture money, depending on what happened with the vehicles. So yes, there should be plenty of space in his budget to accommodate the $3,300 and some change.
And then there is, we do have to pay like a yearly fee.
This is the yearly fee.
Yes, but I'm saying going forward, every year, there would be a fee to continue it.
Correct. But I do not know what the renewal fee is.
Well, it says, it doesn't have it on there, but it does say 20% discount. Year 2 and subsequent years, 20% subscription discount. My only concern was that it says valid only if agency starts with it on or before December 1st. At the top, the proposal said it's valid through December 1st, 2020. So is this quote we're gonna make a motion on this price tonight possibly. Is this still stand?
He did get clarification that as long as we started it by the end of the year, before January 1, that the price was still valid.
Okay, good.
And we don't know what the following years will cost. Are
Well,
we
it says
assuming
it's
this
a
is-
20% discount, correct. But it would just require approval when that time came up, just like our other membership dues and stuff that are over the spending thresholds.
Thank you.
I
So,
will make a motion to go with the Lexi Pool at the price of $3,334.50 for their first year subscription.
okay, we have a motion by Poznanski. Do we have support?
Parker.
Support by Parker. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Poznanski,
Poznanski, yes.
Parker,
Parker's yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Bartholomew,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Ms. Malzahn,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next up, we have our DPW security system. I know you had this in your packet with just the one proposal quote. I did reach out to Audio Century. I gave him the same equipment list. He was hoping, as was I, to have that submitted to me by today so that we would at least have another option to look at price point wise. So I did not receive that today. So it's going to be my suggestion that we just table this till next month. So we at least have two quotes. But you can get an idea of what we're looking for based off of this quote, what it would cover and what those costs would be. So this would be in the DPW area. When we do hear the audit report from Paul Bailey next month, you'll note that one of the audit comments is that we needed to better monitor the fuel tanks over at the DPW site. It's basically just a written log. So this equipment would certainly have coverage for that area so that we would be able to see which vehicles were coming and going and at what time. So just one of the other reasons why we went ahead and got the proposal put in place. So I'd make a motion to table this until next month.
Can we discuss some of it while we're here?
Sure. Can we finish the motion?
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Malzahn. We have support by Bartholomew. Now discussion.
Okay. There was an email that was sent out to the trustees from a resident. They had a few questions for us. If I may just read the email, because it'll be easier than me trying to summarize it. It's not very long.
It wasn't sent out to myself, so.
Okay. Well,
I'm just not aware.
I'll read all of it for you then. Hello, trustees. We hope all are well and ready for some holiday peace. We noticed a topic on the agenda for tonight is security cameras for the DPW. We recall a recent conversation at one of the meetings about benches that belong to the DDA being missing from the DPW yard, and there was a passing suggestion that cameras be put in place. It was not clear if the benches were stored in a shed or out in the open. We attempted to look at previous minutes for the information, but could not find the notes about it, and the past 2 months' minutes are not posted yet. I am asking you to consider and ask the following questions. Has there been an ongoing issue of missing items? If so, what other measures have been put in place? Fencing, locks, etc. Is lighting adequate? Should non-village property be stored there, and is the village liable for it? If cameras are put in place, what policy will be formed to address how long recorded footage is kept? How can it be accessed? Who will monitor it? And how will employees/others on the site be informed of recording in progress? The structures and vehicles are insured for damage or theft, correct? Are the police cruisers still fueling up at the yard? And if so, it's good for a presence there. I am concerned that if things like benches that did or did not go missing or were just miscommunicated about and theft is not a common occurrence, funds that could be utilized elsewhere are being spent on a non-pressing issue. Thank you for your time. Regards, Brian and Shelley Rousseau.
Again, I would request that any and all correspondence, Megan, be forwarded to me prior to the meeting so that I have the ability and the time to do the research so that I may provide those answers in a timely manner at this meeting. So if you
We
can
all
send
got
to
that
me-
shortly before. I think all the trustees got that shortly before the meeting started.
I didn't see it. Did it come to our
Village
email?
email.
Yes.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. So
I'm not sure if you were on there, Christine. I think it was just the trustees, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. But again, I would respectfully request that all those communications come to me so that I don't have to, learn about it secondhand. That would be the proper protocol, under Robert's Rules of Order. So certainly you can forward that to me. As I do my research, we can get those questions answered to the best of my ability.
Well, I guess that would be addressed to Shelley and Brian then, that they might do that in the future. Is this something that DPW?
Uh-oh. Megan, are you frozen?
I think so.
Yeah. She's not moving. I didn't catch the end of the
Is
question.
this something? Am I here?
You're on now, Megan.
You have me?
Why don't you start over?
Okay. Are the cameras something that DPW is requesting?
The DPW did not request it. It was suggested again by our auditors that we have cameras positioned to better monitor the fuel tanks for checks and balances. Given the circumstances with the recent occurrences, there are comings and goings. The gate, was not necessarily locked. This would help in future. Yeah. In future
Are we having
occurrences.
problems?
Yes, we are having problems.
With the report?
Well, we know we have some problems because we're missing 20 benches. So we know that there's an issue. This would eliminate that or any future occurrences. We don't know if there's anything else that's gone missing. We don't know who. Occasionally there's dumping that happens out at the waste pile or in the dumpster corral. So that would alleviate that situation as well. But no, to answer your question, the DPW did not request that we have cameras.
Where would this money, which budget? Would it come out of DPW budget, village budget?
I believe it would come out of the Village Hall and Grounds budget. Mhm.
Would there be money
That's
going
technically
forward such
that's
as,
the grounds. I'm sorry?
would there be an expense going forward? Like a yearly subscription, anything that we would need?
This
to continue
proposal
it?
that was from SYO would be for them to install all the equipment. So there could be expenditures if some of the equipment failed that would be outside of a warranty if we had to replace anything. But this is not a software. This is not a Ring camera or an Arlo type of system that requires stuff to be uploaded to the cloud. I believe this is stored on our computer system, our big server that's here in the village. But we can verify that as part of the questions coming back to Jason or to Mike Romano, should he submit his proposal.
So will we be going out for bid for this?
At this point, we weren't going out to bid. I was just getting multiple estimates so that we have an idea of what we're looking for, a competitive bid. Mike Romano is the one that installed the equipment in the police department. I originally reached out to him to install cameras on our drop boxes in the front of the village offices. Again, they're pretty secure, but you just never know. Thought it was probably a good idea. We chose not to proceed with that. Last year, I asked him to include it in his proposal this year as a separate line item so that it's something that we could just talk about. But again, I don't have his proposal. He did indicate that it's been a number of years since he installed the police department cameras, and it's probably time to take a look at that and probably some adjustments need to be made. That was his recommendation. I do not know what the cost would be associated to that.
Okay.
Now that we know this is going to exceed 10,000, doesn't our purchase policy say it has to be sent out for a sealed bid and have 3 of them?
I don't know that we need to actually bid it out. It's typically preferred that we get 2 or 3 proposals. And that was the idea when I at least reached out to Mike, but I don't have that. That's why I'm recommending that we just table this till next month.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the purchase policy right now, and it does say must obtain a minimum of 3 vendors for quotation, and that if it exceeds 10,000, it should be sealed bid proposals. That's right in the policy.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what Mr. Romano's proposal comes back at.
Who would have access to this?
I don't know what you mean as far as the
Would be-
equipment
Would
or the
be
recordings.
Would somebody at the DPW be taking on another job of monitoring, watching all of this, all of the footage?
No, I wouldn't imagine that. So if there was, the DPW right now resides in Armada Township, so it's the Michigan State Police. The footage would be accessible to them, I would imagine, with whatever vendor who would have that recording, who would be able to access our server, whether it's SYO or Mike Romano, if he's the one that's going to monitor the storage of that footage.
And how long would it be stored for? In general, sometimes they scrub themselves every month, every 30 days.
I do not know. I don't have Mike's proposal, so I don't have that question answered.
Okay, yeah, because this current one doesn't address that either, I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long would it be good for? How long, what is the general life expectancy of a system, cameras? That would be another question.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No.
What's that?
I'm muted. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Okay, hold on.
Okay, now you can hear me, right? Okay. I just think that, everyone's using cameras. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think it's just good to have eyes at all times on our properties. I don't see why we wouldn't want to. Everyone uses them. They're fantastic, and I just think it's a good idea.
I don't think I'm opposed to it. Just if we follow the proper policy for purchasing and quotations would be nice. And I'd also like to know how good are these cameras going to be? I know several recordings that I've seen monitoring buildings before. Yeah, you can tell there's a person there or there's a vehicle, but it gives you no information that's usable. You know, you can tell there's a figure, especially at night, and if they're going to be outside. What quality of camera is this? Are we going to be able to pick up, let's say, a license plate number or define a person's face? Or is it just going to be, you can tell there's someone over there doing something, but we've got nothing to base it off, and we've just spent $10,000 on something that's just showing us that there's an image there.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this equipment either, so it could very well be when we get both the proposals that we have special presentations, and ask both of the vendors to come to the meeting and so they can discuss the specifics with you.
Hart, I have a question.
Yes.
When talking to Mike, or as far as the solution, because I'm using cameras where they are motion activated, you had mentioned as far as for watching, the fuel. Instead of watching if anybody went to get gas over at 24 hours and fast forwarding through it, if it was motion sense when it's used, you would get little 30-second or 10-second clips, and then you could go back and see the whole thing. But somebody could review and see how many times something was tripped at the gas pump, for instance, and you'd see, well, it was tripped 10 times today. And you'd be able to, look at something that way. Because again, the video fast forwarding, it still can take a lot of time to just see if there is anything that you should be seeing. Mm-hmm. I guess explaining because I have a lot of confidence in Mike, explaining the concern about the fuel. What's a good solution for that? What he would recommend in the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's still on?
Yes, Nathan, you are.
Okay, thank you. Another thing I wanted to mention about cameras is once you have them installed and you're able to put a sign out front, I think it works as a great deterrent as well.
Poznansky question.
Yes, Megan.
I would also like to bring up a concern for the direction that they're pointed. I would hate for our staff to feel like they're in a fishbowl and just being watched and monitored constantly. If somehow we could take care of, point them at what they needed to be pointed at, and so our people didn't feel like they were constantly watched.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by President Malzahn. We have a support by Bartholomew to table this until we get the second proposal. Can you do the roll call, please, Lisa?
Yes, President Malzahn,
Yes.
Romeo,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Poznansky,
Poznansky, yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so we will readdress that. Moving on then, the last item under new business is the MERS Defined Benefit Plan Agreement Addendum. So this is a new process that MERS, the Municipal Employees Retirement System, has put into place. They sent this to the HR department and asked us to fill out the categories as they're stating. The basic premise is that they're trying to establish how much of the employee compensation, and I'm not talking about just the hourly salaries or overtime, how much of those expenditures on each employee calculates towards their full pension benefit. And so we discussed this with Mr. Clark. I asked him to review this form because it wasn't something we were familiar with. I asked him to please review the employee union contracts to make sure that there wasn't some language in there that stipulated that one or more of these categories must be included in that compensation. And so Mark gave us his feedback. We went through this and we then checked off the appropriate boxes as you see in your packet. And so basically we included certainly salary, overtime, sick pay, but not a buyout on sick pay. So if somebody asked to have their amount of their hours and they would receive it in one lump sum, that would not calculate towards their pension. Certainly if they use their sick pay because they were sick, that would count. So those are the sorts of judgments that we had to make. We also took a look at reimbursements of non-taxable expenses, so which is their uniforms, the dry cleaning, any tools or guns that we supply to the police department. Those things would be excluded. Fringe benefits, we excluded that from the total because, again, there is no cost share to the employees right now on our healthcare benefits. So although the village pays that out, we did not want that to calculate towards their pension. Again, I mentioned the clothing benefits. We excluded work comp settlement payments. And I think that was all of the features that are on page 5 of 6. That's the list that I just read through, page 5 of 6 of the packet that you have in front of you. So we do need board support to authorize me to sign this agreement and to turn it back into our MERS representative by the end of this year. So does anybody have any questions?
Is this just part-time employees? Is that my understanding?
This is all of our employees that currently participate in our pension benefit plan, which is in the office, it would include Cindy Wilson. On the non-union side, it would include Tim Metz, Al Lapierre, Dan Sokolnicki, as well as all of our police dispatchers, wastewater treatment employees, and DPW employees. that's who participates.
Okay.
So any further discussion or questions? Otherwise, can I have a motion to approve the MERS Defined Benefit Plan Agreement Addendum as submitted in your packet?
Poznansky has a question.
Yes.
Is this something we have to do?
Yes. Because I asked that question. I said, I don't want to do this. I don't understand this. And they said, yes, you have to do this. This is part of their new plan. So we had to do the homework and get it into your packets.
I guess my next question is on the second page, 2 of 6. In the first box where it says employee classification, under temporary employees and then part-time employees, we don't have, it asks for a total of months and then hours per week, and there's nothing in that. Is that going to just be what everyone currently does, or do we need to come up with a number for that?
Right now, we don't have any part-time employees that participate. So we didn't fill that out. We only have full-time employees who work 32 or more hours.
Okay.
And we have closed the pension to new hires in the office and the electeds. So we're looking to, for our corrective action plan, hopefully close the pension plan for union negotiations later on in 2021.
So will this have any effect on our OPEB liability? Is that going to stay the same? Is this going to make it go up, or?
It should not affect it at all.
No, okay.
Nope, you're muted.
Should pop up anyway.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yep, now you're back.
Like to make the motion to move forward with the MERS Defined Benefit Agreement Addendum as outlined.
All right, so we have a motion by Bartholomew. Do we have support?
Hard support.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Hart, yes.
Poznansky,
Poznansky, yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. That concludes our new business. So our time up for public comments. Is there anybody who wishes to raise their hand and address this board or make any public comment? Again, I offer, if you are on the live stream feed from Facebook, I do not monitor those the live stream chat or questions that are submitted underneath the video, but you can call 586-752-3565. My extension is number 3, and we can put you on speakerphone. So anybody want to raise their hand?
Christine, while we're waiting on that, if I could ask a question, I think you answered it already, but last month in your report, you had said that Paul Bailey was coming this month to go over the report. Did you I thought I heard you say earlier that's going to happen next month or in February now? Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my phone's not ringing and no one is raising their hand. So
Motion
That-
to adjourn?
yes, motion to adjourn by Fowler.
Support by Parker.
Support by Parker. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Poznansky,
Poznansky, yes.
Mr. Hart,
Hart, yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Motion carries. Meeting.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Merry Christmas, everybody. Look forward to seeing you all in 2021.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Christmas.